I'm not making history for me, but we're making history for what we accomplished together for the state of Arkansas.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be back here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I truly do love Arkansas, the university and the state and the people.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. There it is. We have a tornado. You can
that
see the
could be
rotation.
a strong tornado. It could be EF2 or greater.
And all of a sudden it was just like so much wind everywhere. It felt like kind of like the house was shaking and things were kind of like being thrown against it. And it was just something I never experienced before.
I want to share in this history with you, Arkansas history, as we swear in the first woman governor in our history, the 47th governor of Arkansas.
I, Sarah Huckabee Sanders,
I, Sarah Huckabee Sanders,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and the Constitution of the state of Arkansas. I'm not making history for me, but we're making history for what we accomplished together for the state of Arkansas.
Soon-to-be Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders brings with her a feisty 2 years as President Trump's press secretary.
One of the things I think it did was probably give me a little bit of a thick skin, and so not focusing on what the critics say, but focusing on what we can accomplish for the people we're serving.
Sanders enters office at age 40 as the youngest governor in the entire country, which she again turns to her advantage.
And I think that perspective, that innovation, that energy is going to help us be really successful in this first session. I think we're not only going to make history as the first female to be governor, but also make history about the things that we're able to deliver for the people of Arkansas.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. There it is. We have a tornado. You can
That
see the
could be
rotation.
a strong tornado. It could be EF2 or greater.
Yeah, that was our biggest concern today, folks. Strong tornadoes. We're going to keep it on this camera shot. Let's adjust it to where we can follow it. If you live along I-430, Camac Village, it's heading toward you. Tornado warning, Pulaski County, downtown Little Rock. In West Little Rock, right now being impacted by a confirmed tornado with debris. And here it is, and could be a strong tornado, EF2 or stronger.
We live here, and this is the worst day that we've ever studied for. This is the worst type of tornado, worst type of setup that many of us will see and experience, or at least I hope so. And as I look at these videos and these photos coming in, of course, on behalf of THV11, our thoughts are with you, and we'll be here with you throughout the rest of the evening until it's safe, and then we'll help you get through the recovery process as well.
Holy! Look at this. This is footage from the dash cam of his work van. Holy cow, the moment the tornado passes over, leveling the trees just like toothpicks.
Sound like a train pretty much coming through. We had enough time to get to shelter, but like many people here, like we really didn't think it was gonna, tornadoes don't hit Little Rock like that.
It grazed the heart to see many of our residents who are now been displaced across the city as a result of these tornadoes. We want to assure the public that your first responders are going above and beyond to ensure public safety, health, and welfare.
And as residents toured the damage, so too did some of Central Arkansas's elected officials, including Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
This group represents all of Central Arkansas and Little Rock, this area that was hit so hard, and very thankful for their willingness and the cooperation that we've had.
This neighborhood off Shackelford razed.
The biggest thing, like I was telling y'all, is we got to get the streets cleared, but the power is the big thing. Power is it's going to be very trying.
It joining many, like this neighborhood in North Little Rock, also destroyed. Trees on homes, X's marked the damage. The governor joining North Little Rock Mayor Terry Hartwick, touring damage too close for comfort.
This is the home of one of the staffers in our office. And he found out that happened as he was sitting in our conference room responding to the storm. So we are so thankful they weren't here, that they're okay. And we're just here to help and be there for them in any way we can.
Cleanup in these neighborhoods will take weeks, if not months. Crews and neighbors all lending a helping hand. And the governor promising they won't be alone.
It's real simple. Whatever you need, we're going to come and provide it. If it's temporary shelter, if it's food, if it's clothing, we're coming together, we're going to work together, and we're going to make sure that the people have what they need.
And there's so much devastation that
it's still going to be a long process.
When Arkansas residents say they have been through storms before, but never a storm that went directly through the heart of their city.
We're all right. We made it to our home and we were safe. We left the store about an hour before it hit. For 25 years, we have stayed and weathered the storm and got in the back room if there was one. This time, the storm hit about 4 and about 3 o'clock, and I said, I just feel like we need to leave this time.
Their family's business, along with a daycare, was destroyed less than half a mile away from the district's only public high school, also destroyed in the storm. Trees around the campus are completely uprooted. Most of the roof is torn to pieces and the main entrance has collapsed. With a population of nearly 8,300, the mayor of Wynne, Jennifer Hobbs, says the extent of the city's damage is still unknown. But Charlotte and Darrell say despite this tragedy, they will remain resilient and rebuild. A sentiment Brad South, whose nearby home was also hit by the tornado, shares.
We've had things like this before, and I have no doubt that our community will pull together and help out.
We've been talking all morning, and our plans, we believe right now, is to try to rebuild. Maybe not as big as before, but something to get us up and going, but it looks like it may take a year or better.
It's very difficult to know what life is like in this area at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll speak for the entire weather team. Our top of mind, not only the residents here, but we were so concerned for school kids. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. PCSSD held those kids in class and they kept them safe in the school building so that they weren't sent home on the roads while this was passing through. They kept them there so that they weren't in their homes alone without their parents. And so I think of those things, and that was an incredibly smart move on their part. And I just want to make that clear. Hayden, what a terrible time, any time for a tornado, but we're talking about one of the most densely populated areas, numerous homes, subdivisions. There's an apartment complex right to my back over here that likely suffered significant damage. Most of those folks probably don't have a place to sleep tonight as a result of that. The amount of traffic that are on these roads at that time of the day is just horrifying. And as you saw that tornado come, we had a live shot from RView 11. Of course, that's our camera in downtown Little Rock on top of the Simmons Bank Tower. And it gave us the perfect view directly into that monster as it raced across West Little Rock. And we knew it was going to cross 430. You were looking at traffic cams and you saw people traveling seemingly unaware that danger was imminent. So I think your question was reflect on that. Hayden, it was horrifying to see that coming through, to see this damage, to know what life is typically like in this community and in this neighborhood. And it certainly won't be that way ever again, and certainly not in the next several weeks to months.
We are going to have a laser-like focus on improving education here in the state.
We will see improved learning in the state of Arkansas. And when you look at what that impact is, we're talking about changing the lives for generations.
Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders gave us more details about how she plans to reform education in Arkansas, saying she wants to start with addressing the teacher shortage.
We will show that Arkansas values our teachers by giving every teacher a minimum salary of $50,000.
She also says she wants to empower parents by creating a system that will allow them to choose the school that fits the needs of their children best.
This 145-page bill covers a lot of ground. Some of the key points: raising base teacher salaries to $50,000, government-subsidized vouchers for school choice, and banning indoctrination topics like critical race theory in schools. All wrapped up in one bill, an issue some opponents were cautious of, even after weeks of debate.
The effort to make the bill better has worked. It is a better bill than it was before. There's still elements of it that I cannot support.
After weeks of debate and discussion, the Arkansas Learns bill is now law. Surrounded by legislators offering support, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders pushed for a new look for education in the natural state.
We've seen how the status quo condemns Arkansans to a lifetime of poverty.
and we're tired of sitting at the bottom of national education rankings.
Today is about students and making sure we're setting them up for success.
And implementing the bill is something Oliva says they want to do soon. Weeks of work to get the bill to the governor doesn't mean they want to stop.
Now that we have the bill codified in law, it gives us the opportunity to start developing rules and working on the implementation plan, because we're going to get it right, and that's what Arkansas deserves.
Of course, not everyone is on board, including State Senator Greg Leding.
Throughout the process, when we were asking how certain things were going to work, we were told that rules would be put in place, and that is the usual process, but we didn't get a lot of clear answers about what those rules are going to look like.
But the bill's sponsors, State Senator Breanne Davis and Representative Keith Brooks, say the bill is clear and benefits all.
And as people continue to learn and understand what this bill really does, I think they'll see that the impact is great and be on board.
Kids matter, and their future is too important for us to sit around and keep doing the same things we've done that haven't worked.
Even with a law as wide as this, all sides say they're ready to adapt and change.
I know there's going to be opportunities for further enhancements, be part of the outcome of that conversation, which is why I'm excited to get teachers and leaders and practitioners around the table to start figuring out what that is.
Massive bills have shaped the majority of what we'll remember from this time. Possibly the biggest, says State Senator Greg Leding, is the Arkansas Learns Act, the bill that's set to change education in the natural state.
Those took up a lot of oxygen out of the room, kept lawmakers busy, and unfortunately also kind of slowed down the process. So that's one reason we saw such a spike in legislation near the end of session.
Another key piece is the Protect Arkansas Act, also sponsored by Governor Sarah Sanders. That's headed to her desk and makes some felony offenses ineligible for early release from prison.
I don't think it's any secret that I wasn't supportive of Learns or the public safety bill, even though I liked a lot of what was in them. Just ultimately couldn't find a way to support them.
I think the big message for people to know is that if you are a violent repeat offender here in the state of Arkansas, we're coming for you.
The Protect Arkansas Act is sponsored by Senator Ben Gilmore and Representative Jimmy Gazaway. The bill aims to prevent violent offenders from being released early due to lack of prison space.
The fact is, we have not built out the capacity in the last 20 years that we need to hold our most repeat violent offenders who need to be incarcerated.
Among many different promises it entails, the biggest price tags will be a new $470 million prison, $3 million going towards recruiting more correction officers, and $5 million to overtime for state troopers.
More prison beds, more police, more victims' rights.
The governor also announced stricter penalties for murder, rape, human trafficking, or child sex abuse, including serving 100% of the jail sentence.
Some will complain that these new punishments are too tough. To those critics, I say that's Arkansas justice.
Starting in 2025, those found guilty of serious crimes like second-degree murder and first-degree sexual assault will have to serve 85% of their sentence before they're eligible for supervised release. Starting next year, people who are found guilty of especially violent crimes like capital murder or rape will no longer be eligible for parole at all.
No more revolving door in our prisons, and no more weak sentencing, and no more unsafe streets.
The Freedom of Information Act has never been about left or right. It's been about right or wrong.
Since 1967, Arkansas's Freedom of Information Act has provided the public the right to the access of records of any state agency. But according to Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that law could use an update.
To make our government smaller, we have to make it more efficient. To do so, we will also update Arkansas's Freedom of Information Act.
It's one of the main issues that Governor Sanders called a special session for, pointing to concerns when it comes to her and her family's safety.
Our current FOIA laws put me and my kids at risk, so we will update sections of the law so that the sources and methods Arkansas State Police uses to protect me and my family outside of the governor's mansion are not subject to disclosure.
Robert Steinbuck, a professor of law at U of A Little Rock, says exempting the government's security intel is already a law, but denying the right of the public to question their government is not right.
We need, as the public and as the media, to have the ability to seek those records and discover that wrongdoing. And what they're doing seeks to undermine exactly that.
Last week when I called this special session, I said we would focus on three things: cutting taxes, streamlining government, and protecting our freedom.
Surrounded by legislators and sponsors of bills focused on those points, Sanders signed multiple bills into law. Many of those were what she called for, banning vaccine mandates from the government, tax cuts, and changes to the state's FOI laws. That last change wasn't a quick process, though, and it wasn't exactly what they started with.
We put something out, we worked with our partners, we're very happy with the result and what came from it.
The differences from the original FOI bill and the one that was signed are clear. This signed version solely focuses on the governor's and her family's safety. Efforts to expand other exemptions in the law met opposition.
I'm okay with the exception of the retroactivity. I mean, I don't still know exactly why it needed to go back as it did.
State Senator Reginald Murdoch tells me he voted present on the FOI bill, and he thinks there are other bills that still had flaws. Overall, though, his biggest takeaway is the voice of the people.
Whether you were left or right, Democrat, Republican, no matter what you were, you want access to information and you want transparency.
We begin tonight with developing news out of the state capitol. A lectern purchased by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office now has lawmakers asking for an audit. Questions about the $19,000 podium have emerged ever since blogger Matt Campbell discovered it and published emails about it. And now State Senator Jimmy Hickey wants the Legislative Joint Auditing Committee to investigate the purchase.
He also requested an audit into things made confidential by laws passed during last month's special session.
If there is additional information out there that is contradictory to what we've seen and things like that, then that'll be what leg audit goes through and finds and allows the governor's office to give it to them or however that works.
There was a push to delay conversations about that confidential information, but it was shot down.
I think that the general public is crying out for an answer on this situation, and the quicker the better. I don't think there's anything wrong as far as I can see, but I don't know.
Instead, Senator Hickey limited that request to expenditures made confidential in the special session.
And it was just so broad that legislative audit probably would not have the staff to look into all matters, and so it needed to be limited in scope in some way.
Now this heads to the full committee, something other legislators not on this committee say needs to happen.
If there was the perception that something was done incorrectly, I would want to be able to prove that, and I think that this is the best way to prove that if that's the case.
And for Senator Hickey, he says this is a way to start fresh.
Not only with the podium, but that we go ahead with everything that was of such controversy during the special session, that we go ahead and have a leg audit look at that so that we can kind of start with a clean slate and get this behind us.
Normally sleepy monthly meetings for local library boards are anything but lately. The Central Arkansas Library System today planned to lead others into a legal fight over obscenity and book placement.
Earlier this afternoon, CAL's board members officially passed a motion to sue the state. THV11's Frederick Price attended that meeting and brings us a recap.
Yeah, Faith and Rowley, not as heated as some thought it would be, but certainly a packed room at the CAL's board meeting today. Members expressing mixed reactions on the library system's decision to pursue this legal challenge. Well, John Adams, the attorney representing CAL, saying Act 372 that creates potentially obscene charges for library workers is too broad and needs a judge to weigh in.
Before making their final decision, CAL's board members listened to the public's thoughts on the library's most talked about agenda item. A data for and a member of the Pulaski County Quorum Court, Luke McCoy, expressing why he feels the library should not challenge the legislation.
Creates a more transparent process that people can have confidence in when they go to question or challenge or consider a piece in the library to be moved.
Angela Hunter, a parent too, on the opposing side, arguing this legislation goes against, quote, basic freedoms of our democracy.
I think that this act micromanages libraries and librarians who are highly trained and skilled and who are protecting our communities already.
Act 372, of course, holds librarians accountable for obscene materials and gives elected officials the final say-so on where books should be placed. John Adams is the attorney representing CALS. He presented a memo to members outlining his reasons why the library system should seek an opinion from a federal court. Adams saying the law violates the First Amendment. Senator Dan Sullivan, the sponsor of the bill, telling me on the phone he isn't surprised by their decision.
Yeah, they're welcome to challenge us, but the idea that it's too broad, it's hard. Again, it's done in other states, and I doubt if they'll prevail.
adding this law is meant to provide a safe space for children in Arkansas libraries.
So I'm confident that we are well within the constitutional bounds, and I think it's a good bill, a good law.
Federal Judge Timothy Brooks ruled to stop Arkansas's library censorship law from going into effect. The temporary hold stops the law that was supposed to start on Tuesday. Act 372 is also known as the Library Obscenity Bill. It holds librarians accountable for, quote, obscene materials. The act was challenged by different librarians across the state, and attorneys for the librarians say they fear what this law would mean for the future of the profession.
After months of debate over who should control the Saline County Library, a vote officially gives it to the county judge tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Craig O'Neill. This did not go down without drama and a very tense night, and THV11 Sarah Huckabee was there.
Sarah, we've seen this debate. What was the reaction tonight, and more importantly, what does this mean going forward?
Yeah, Craig was right when he talked about drama for months. It was a tense courtroom tonight with a strict list of public comment. But overall, the vote ended giving the county judge the power over hiring decisions, budgeting, the final say in all of those library decisions. Now, a lot of people came out in protest and to support this amended ordinance. From billboards to the courtroom, a tipping point in Saline County Monday night after a months-long debate over how the library functions comes to a vote.
We must never again allow the Saline County Library to weaponize our tax dollars against the citizens of this county.
You're wanting to remove the decisions of the library from a board and a director that has a master's degree in library science.
In an 11-2 vote, the county judge will now have oversight of nearly all library actions, bringing out dozens in protest. The oversight includes what goes on the shelves, hiring decisions, and budgets, something one court member addressed directly.
I will go on record tonight saying that I will oppose any budget cuts, any defunding of our library.
But defunding and firing current staff is still a concern for the Saline County Library Alliance, who have been protesting this amended ordinance for months.
Our next step is obviously going to be taking that power back, giving it back to the library board where it belongs. We're going to be putting this ordinance one way or the other on the ballot.
The Saline County Library is looking for a new director.
The woman who previously held the position says she was fired this morning by the county judge. Thank you for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Craig O'Neill. The county spokesperson confirms Patty Hector no longer works there, but would not say why. And THV11 Sarah Huckabee has been following this story through months of heated debate over book access at the library. All new tonight, she sits down with the person at the center of it all.
After working for years as the Saline County's library director, this morning, Patty Hector took her office home in boxes.
I got the call saying that the judge wanted to talk to me. So he came over to the library and said my services were no longer needed by the county.
The county releasing a statement saying Hector is no longer employed there, naming Lee Epsey the interim director and starting the search for replacement. This following months of tension between the library and the county judge. Back in June, the judge calling for restrictions to book access.
The library should enact policies to relocate materials that are not subject matter or age appropriate for children due to their sexual content or imagery.
But Hector didn't follow the Quorum Court's initial requests.
Everybody has the right to read whatever they want. Parents are the only ones who decide what their child reads, but they don't decide it for other parents' children.
A lot of the debate over the last few months has been about where books can go in the library and who can access them. Talking about teen books possibly being moved over to the adult section. The library says 3 books were formally challenged and 2 will be moved, but at the end of the day, anyone can check out any book.
Yeah, there's not a better career, or there wasn't, until people try to control what other people can read.
2 major energy companies are about to step on the accelerator towards a new future.
And the fuel under the hood is going to come from right here in Arkansas. We first told you about the potential of a lithium gold rush in our state 2 years ago.
As THV11's Rolly Hoyt shows us, cities in South Arkansas could soon return to their boomtown days.
We're now in the point where that energy transition is very real and is happening across the globe.
Across the globe includes southern Arkansas. The region is full of potential energy, and it's sitting under the soil.
We're hoping to be producing lithium commercially in southern Arkansas in early 2026.
Andy Robinson is the Chief Operating Officer of Standard Lithium. That's the Canadian company we first introduced you to a couple of years ago. They've staked the earliest claim in Arkansas to extract the chemical needed to power all the rechargeable batteries that could one day break our dependence on oil and gas. Since 2020, they've used an extraction process that taps into the vast amounts of salty liquid found 2 miles underground called brine. They then run it through this small-scale test facility in El Dorado. Huge amounts of this lithium-rich brine are waiting to be tapped from what's called the Smackover Formation.
We've learnt how to take the brines from the Smackover, process them to get the lithium out directly from them, put that brine back in the ground again once the lithium has been extracted, and we've learned what we need to learn to now move to the commercial steps.
Here's why scaling up that demonstration project is so important. If it doesn't work, the chances of getting all that lithium out from down there practically disappear. You see, the way foreign countries usually get the lithium is by building giant evaporation ponds, usually in the middle of deserts. This is the site that Standard Lithium plans to build their processing plant. It's 118 acres, mostly timberland. It's close to a rail link and Highway 29. But if it were an evaporation pond, it would be 120 times larger, about 30,000 acres. Nowhere in the Smackover Formation is there that kind of space or the appetite for that much environmental destruction. It appears that drilling brine this way is the only way to unlock the lithium.
Really, genuinely really proud that we are taking this very modern approach and having such a light footprint on the planet.
The implications of going from a test program to commercial production could be game-changing. The Smackover is a vast crescent of land spanning from Texas to the Florida Panhandle. Southwest Arkansas promises to be the hub thanks to its history as an oil and gas producer. Old wells and derricks dot the landscape, and drilling for brine and lithium is easy here. That ease promises to make this energy boom much different.
We're really aiming to be a leading supplier of lithium by 2030.
If you're looking for signs that extracting it from brine is going to work, look no further than 2 weeks ago. That's when oil giant ExxonMobil bellied up to the lithium bar with an announcement alongside Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
This is something that has the ability to have tremendous long-term economic impact.
Patrick Howarth with ExxonMobil outlined the oil giant's goals that day at the state capitol. He reiterated their plans while speaking with us a couple of days later from Exxon's headquarters.
So it's probably a little bit too early to say to exactly how big it could be, but we feel that we can contribute to providing lithium for at least 1 million EVs by 2030.
Standard Lithium has similar goals, perhaps a year or two sooner thanks to their head start. When it comes to a booming, thriving lithium industry in Arkansas, both Robinson and Howarth say there's still a long way to go. But to them and their investors, that potential energy is there.
The world and North America really needs lithium urgently, and we think that these critical resources that we're hoping to develop in Southwest Arkansas near Magnolia can play part of that story.
And there will be ups and downs over the years, but we think this is a long-term energy transition, and Southern Arkansas is definitely going to be a central hub for this story.
The frightening sound of skidding tires and crunching metal. An Arkansas State Police trooper deliberately flips an SUV after the driver refused to stop after he went to pull her over. This incident made headlines in 2020, not because of the spectacular crash, but because the driver, a woman pregnant at the time, later sued the trooper. The case wound up in federal court where the state and the woman reached a settlement. 2 years later, law enforcement experts still consider the pit maneuver an important police tool.
Precision immobilization technique, which has actually been around since the 1980s.
Kevin Davis is in the Law Enforcement Hall of Fame. 4 decades of experience from concert crowd security to running a SWAT team. His life now is all about training cops on how and when to use force, including using vehicles to stop and catch suspects.
PIT is a specific technique that is a trained technique wherein the officer intentionally collides with the subject vehicle, forcing a spin out.
Arkansas troopers receive advanced training, and the agency policy about vehicle pursuits reflects that. But before and after the controversial 2020 case, if a trooper concludes reasonably and objectively that stopping a chase protects people, they can execute a pit.
I attempted to pit him before he got into town.
So how often do they actually do this? Looking at data from state police, they engaged in an average of 482 pursuits a year from 2018 through 2021. Troopers used a pit maneuver to stop a chase an average of 108 times. That equals about 2 a week. 3 suspects died, 204 others were injured, 43 troopers and 38 civilians were also hurt. Davis says a properly trained officer in a properly equipped vehicle can pit a suspect with a high degree of certainty and safety. But there's an important factor when making that decision.
Normally the pit maneuver is not done at speeds in excess of 35 miles per hour.
Hands up! Hands up!
Normally. But then there are chases like this.
Driving a dark blue Chevy truck with chip tags. He is going to be armed with rifle and handgun.
September 15th, 2022. Arkansas State Police Trooper Joseph Killian is alerted to an allegedly armed man barreling down I-40 toward North Little Rock at more than 100 miles an hour.
42 Little Rock. I'm 1037 with him.
The suspect truck swerving across all the lanes and shoulders while weaving through one of the busiest interchanges in the state, just before rush hour.
We'll be inside lanes, speeds over 110.
After 5 minutes, another trooper in the pursuit makes the call.
71 secondary, I got the radio. Just drive, 40. When you get a chance, we get past this traffic, pit him.
Trooper Killian executes a pit, sending the suspect's truck into the median, parts flying. The trooper careens in front of oncoming traffic.
Pit, pit, pit.
All of this happening well above 35 miles an hour. So how can this be allowed?
And what we do is we balance the person's right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures with the government's countervailing interest to taking action or seizing the person.
We asked the new state police commander, Colonel Mike Hager, to explain. He couldn't meet us in person, but sent us a statement saying partially, the agency is intentional in training troopers to make these calls. State police prioritize 3 factors once a chase is on. Reduce the risk of serious injury, 1, to the innocent members of the public, 2, law enforcement involved, and then 3, the suspect trying to get away. And because they are trained, the option is available even at high speeds.
And if their perceptions are that this subject poses a risk of death or serious bodily harm to the innocent public, then, you know, whether it's the use of a firearm or a pit maneuver or ramming, it can be used.
State police say troopers know the risks. Davis wonders if more criminals knew how a chase could end, they would think twice.
And the funny thing is that giving up in today's society, you're probably going to get low or reduced bail and get out. So the risks that you present to the innocent citizens out there, because you want to get away, is certainly substantial.
The higher the number of the pursuits, the higher number of the TBIs, and unfortunately, likely, the higher number of injuries and sometimes even fatalities are going to occur.
In just the last few months, state police have performed 3 deadly pit maneuvers to stop fleeing suspects. Colonel Mike Hager says they never want the move to be fatal.
But at the end of the day, we are always going to maintain that clear priority of life, which is the innocent public, then the law enforcement, then the suspect.
Hager says it's also an issue of manpower.
The use of spike strips, or to where you could deflate the tires on a vehicle. In order to do that, you have to know where that vehicle is going. You have to have a trooper or a police officer set up in the exact area of where that suspect is going. The chances of that happening are very, very slim.
But now Arkansans are wondering if the maneuver is truly the best way to get a person to comply.
We're not going to, just hope that all the vehicles are passing on the shoulder, all the intersections they're going through, that they're not going to hit someone, they're not going to kill your family, they're not going to kill my family. We've seen that happen, unfortunately. This is not theory. We know what's going to happen the longer we let that go on. So the reason that we believe it's the best tactic is because it's the most immediate tactic to bring that pursuit to a conclusion.
When someone flees from law enforcement, it's like they're driving a bullet down the road.
855 Little Rock, head-on collision.
It could be your family or mine. Our troopers will not look the other way.
In a new PSA from Arkansas State Police, they are bringing attention to the act of fleeing.
It's trending upwards by quite a bit, especially in the central Arkansas area.
According to ASP, in 2017 for Central Arkansas, there were 78 fleeing incidents. In 2022, they saw more than 4 times that amount, with 324.
We've seen years of people seeing that there's not just a great consequence for fleeing. We have a lot of law enforcement agencies that have decided not to pursue.
It's a pretty basic deal. When law enforcement is pulling you over, you stop.
But Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin and the state hope to change that. Legislators passed a new law this year that makes fleeing from police a Class D felony. If someone is prosecuted, they could spend 3 to 6 years in prison.
This is a serious crime. You are putting people at risk. We've had people more than once die as a result of someone acting like a fool, running from law enforcement.
Police hope this PSA will alert people of the new consequences, but ultimately keep innocent bystanders safe.
We will pursue you as far as the Arkansas State Police, and in doing that, we're going to do what's safest for the general public, and that a lot of times will be the use of a TVI, because that is what's safest for the public. It's not safest for the suspect, it's not safest for the trooper, but our oath is to protect the general public.
The players, and truly tell you how sorry I am for the way it ended. But I also wanted to come here to thank you for everything that people in this room and in the state did for me and my family. You were great to us.
Now Petrino looks to be making a return to the natural state as the newest offensive coordinator for the Razorbacks.
THV11's Tyler Cass has got the latest on this new hire. Well, sorta. Tyler?
Yeah, that's right, guys. Look, there has been no official confirmation from the university, but Petrino himself posted that video of his granddaughter and then went ahead and changed his profile location to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and added a hashtag WPS to his bio. So all signs point to Bobby Petrino. Yes, that Bobby Petrino headed back to the Hill. Of course, Hog fans remember what it was like on the football field. He had the Razorbacks up to number 5 in the country by the end of the 2011 season, and then of course the unfortunate 2012 offseason that led to him being fired. Sometime yesterday, while all these students were camping out outside Bud Walton Arena, the news broke that Bobby Petrino was returning as offensive coordinator for the Razorbacks. And on campus at least, it's been met with almost universal excitement. The line of students here ready for the basketball game keeps breaking out into chants of Bobby, Bobby. The students and the Arkansas fan base, by and large, seems excited for the return of the man responsible for some of the most electric offenses that college football has ever seen. We got news of the contract today. Petrino will make $1.5 million to coach the Razorbacks next season. That bumps up to $1.6 million the following season. So it's a 2-season contract for Petrino for now.
I wanted to hire him. I know he's a good man. We all make a mistake, and I wanted to hire him. He was the best candidate. He's a wonderful person, and I was adamant I wanted to hire him, and he was adamant he wanted to come.
Now, Pittman understands and knows, as does everyone in this state, why hiring Petrino could be seen as controversial. He was, of course, fired as head coach for cause over a decade ago. But in that time, Petrino says he's learned, he's changed, he's been humbled, and he never stopped thinking about coming back to Arkansas.
I thought about it and dreamed about it, and I didn't know if it would ever happen. So certainly, I can't tell you how excited I am to be back here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I truly do love Arkansas, the university and the state and the people. You know, I think it's the most special place I've ever been.
You know, you're a special group, special crowd, and you don't really understand how much effect that y'all have on the players and their families and the support, and how much that means. And You know, there's no question the Hogs can come back, but they're going to need everybody's help here. So stay with them and keep supporting them because you are what makes the University of Arkansas a special job. There's no question about it.
This is what the video board at Razorback Stadium looked like tonight as the Razorbacks pay tribute to the man responsible for, honestly, some of the biggest moments that field has ever seen. And those who played with Ryan Mallett, the ones who stood side by side with him on that field, have been particularly struck by the loss of someone who was not just a football player, but a friend.
You know, and it's hard to make D-Love cry, but, you know, I set my 6'5", 320-pound body on that couch, and you would have thought I was a little kid yesterday.
I literally almost broke down in tears because I was looking at pictures. Every touchdown was scored, he's always in the back with his hands up. You know, every time he's running down, he's one of the first guys, if not the first guy, ready to celebrate with you.
On the field, Mallett was certainly something special.
It was amazing. You know, it's just unreal how so much further ahead of the game he was.
When he got on the football field, was just an unreal specimen, you know, every single day.
It's like we stopped pass blocking once we heard the wind from Mallett on. We didn't have to look up. His arm was that powerful.
But it's the man more than the football player that will stick with those who knew him.
He's gonna, you know, light up the room with that huge personality that he has.
It's devastating to the Razorback group, man. Like, we really love Mallett. Like, really, this was a guy that was loved by the Hog community.
Ryan had a closeness with everybody. You know, it's crazy. It's almost seemed like he was like everybody's best friend. You know, that's your guy. You know, and
Ryan Mallett got to be a college football superstar, then play on Sundays in the NFL. But his sudden passing means that the man who grew up calling his dad coach only got to spend a couple years leading young players himself.
He was loving his time at Whitehall, loving to be able to be around and be with those kids. You know, I genuinely believe that's what was making him happy.
Man, I cried so hard because I know that it was so much in store for bro with the coaching and with him trying to redeem himself.
I know that he was on top of the world, knowing that he had his own program, he was doing what he loved, and he was happy to be back connected.
Our thoughts, of course, with Ryan's family, his friends, teammates, and his players at Whitehall, who have certainly dealt with far too much tragedy this year alone. It is one of the defining moments in Razorback history. It all ends up with Alex Collins picking up one of the wildest and most important first downs college football has ever seen. It's just one of many moments that Collins had that will stick with Arkansas fans forever. Alex Collins passing away yesterday in a motorcycle accident, and once again, the Razorback world mourns. It's been a tragic offseason for Arkansas football. The Hog World losing stars Chris Smith, then Ryan Mallett, then a future Hog in 2024 recruit Deion Stutz, and then yesterday, once again, the Arkansas sports world is united in remembering a star gone far too soon. Collins, absolutely incredible as a Hog, the second leading rusher in program history, then made his mark as well in the NFL with the Seahawks and Ravens, where his infectious, happy-go-lucky attitude and affinity for Irish step dancing made him a favorite of fans and his teammates alike, as evidenced by the absolute outpouring on social media from both his pro family and his Razorback family when the news broke yesterday. Look, talking about on the field, we could be here all morning listing the accolades, and I'm sure that's exactly what's been happening all around the state as fans spend their time watching some of Collins' best plays on YouTube on repeat, and it's a story we've had to live through too many times in recent memory. Collins' family releasing a statement through the Seahawks yesterday, asking for thoughts, prayers, and privacy, stating they would share details of funeral arrangements when they can. His family also saying in part, all who truly know him can attest to his drive, determination, and larger-than-life personality. And it is that larger-than-life personality that comes up anytime you talk with anyone who interacted with Collins. So I wanted to close not with more football highlights, but with this video right here. Collins loved Irish step dancing, would often attribute his quick feet on the field to his work in the dance studio, and while he was in the NFL with the Ravens, even took the time to help a young boy who was being bullied because of his own Irish step videos that had been posted online. So look, Alex Collins, the football star, he'll live on forever in the highlight videos. Alex Collins, the person, he's going to live on in the hearts and minds of all of those with whom he shared his joy. Rest in peace, Alex Collins, another Razorback gone far too soon.
scary to go through there. I've almost had a wreck going through there before.
Tracy Bright got a new tire this week after she says she drove over metal plates on I-30 near Benton.
But at the time, I didn't really realize I had gotten a flat until I had just came out of the construction. Sure enough, it had a big notch out of it. Wasn't just a screw or anything.
And she's not the only one. Hundreds reached out with complaints of blown out tires, broken axles, and driving over metal scraps, keeping tow companies busy.
The other day I saw probably 4 or 5 that were lined up, back up, grab it, and go. Next one come in, back up, grab it, and go. It was one right after the other.
I spoke with 3 tow truck companies like East End Towing, all saying they've gotten dozens of calls to the same stretch of highway over the last few weeks.
They break down in between those walls, yeah, it's practically impossible because once they're broke down, it's down to 1 lane.
The construction to widen that part of I-30 is years behind schedule, and RDOT says the contractors are getting fined for the delay.
The project has, I think it's fair to say, has not gone as expected by the contractor or by us.
But even with hundreds of Facebook complaints of people telling us they've changed jobs to avoid the highway or shared stories of accidents,
we haven't had a lot of complaints about people hitting those lead plates and thus having potholes. I'm not saying it hasn't occurred, but I haven't had the number to such that we would change anything about it.
But if you have damage, there is action you can take to get it fixed.
So if you're in a construction zone, find out who the contractor is and reach out to them directly.
In this case, that contractor is Johnson Brothers Corporation. While their phone number isn't posted on Google, we did reach out to their parent company for this story, but did not hear back. 2 tow truck companies say calls just keep coming to the same stretch of I-30. The average number of reported accidents on that stretch more than doubled from 2019 to 2022 compared to the year before construction began. I met with one woman whose car had hundreds of dollars in damage, and now she just wants to know how to get reimbursed.
So you kept this?
Yes, I want to keep it because I didn't want them to say that I was lying, like there's no way that I can do this.
Kiara Holland says these 2 tires blew after driving over metal plates on I-30 near Benton.
I had to pay for everything out of pocket. I had to get 2 new tires, 2 new rims. My bumper, I had to get a new one, and a wheel alignment. It cost me about $780.
She drives her car for Amazon and Instacart deliveries, and the damage means she's not only paying for repairs, but making less money.
That's to the point where I don't want to go out that way where my work is for my safety, so I'll turn it down and go home without paying.
So she reached out to the State Claims Commission and Department of Transportation for help.
I tried calling multiple numbers. I kept getting transferred to other people.
I asked Dave Parker with RDOT, what should people do if their car was damaged?
First, try to reach out to the contractor. If they're not able to reach the contractor for whatever reason, they certainly can reach out to RDOT.
But when I went to the project's contractor today, they declined to talk on camera, but said drivers should instead talk to RDOT. So if you do reach out to the Department of Transportation, Parker says,
ask us, hey, we need legal, and we'll direct you into that, and maybe they can help at least navigate the process a little bit.
As the construction is expected to finish up late 2024, years overdue.
They are being fined, it's a total of $77,700 per day for every day that they're late on that project. They're doing what they need to do, and we're doing what we need to do.
And drivers like Kiara figure out what's next.
It's gonna get to the point where I have to take off work and go up there to see what's going on.
On the right side of your screen, more than a dozen tractor trailers pulled over after blowing tires.
But as you likely know, this isn't the first time we've talked about this. So, is anything going to change here?
RDOT tells me that they want to take a closer look at the metal plates involved in the construction along I-30 in Benton. This comes after dozens of blowouts and hundreds of accidents over the last year.
It was, hook one up, take it, get it to a safe location to where they can get a tire put on, go back and get another one.
James Harrison with East End Towing says their company was one of many responding to over a dozen blown out trucks yesterday between exits 114 and 117.
Truck after truck after truck, right front flat tires because of the temporary drainage cover plates.
Truck drivers like Braxton Hill are worried the next blowout could be theirs.
I try to stay as far as possible from the right side that it be on because I do be nervous.
And this isn't the first time lines of trucks have been stuck on the side of this road. So I called the contractor, Johnson Brothers, to ask what's being done, but did not get an answer.
The person at extension 241 is unavailable.
Then I went to Dave Parker with the Arkansas Department of Transportation.
We've had a second incident now. We have these plates there for a reason. It is a construction zone. Those metal plates have got to be watched, installed, managed a little bit better.
On top of the flats, the average number of reported accidents on that stretch more than doubled from 2019 to 2022 compared to the year before construction began.
To see 253 crashes since January of last year, January 1 of 2023, up to today, that's a high number.
All for a project that's years overdue.
I think there's frustration on both ends, you know. We certainly want to get the project done. We want to get it done in the right way.
RDOT says construction is now scheduled to complete late next year, but for drivers like Braxton, it can't come soon enough.
It's about a life, you know, so I don't want to have nobody hurt, or I don't want to get hurt.
RDOT reports that contractors are being fined over $70,000 every day that the project's overdue, hoping for it to finally come to an end in late 2024.
It has been all over the internet today, so we might as well take a moment to address the gorilla in the room. Not a gorilla, it's actually me. You're gonna need this.
I am, because I got tears already.
You want one? Never. We made it official today. I'm retiring January 1st, 2024, and this time, folks, I mean it. December 29th, 10 p.m., my last newscast. What started January 1st, 2000 is going to end January 1st, 2024. You do the math, 24 years with THV11, and there never was a day that I did not love. Standing in this BJ Sam studio, I've learned so much these past 24 years, and at the top of the list, the power of story. It has been an honor to serve you and to be with you. We got another month left. Every moment will count.
You're making me cry. Tom, you gotta talk, because I will literally ruin my makeup.
I think you're angling with that whole BJ Sam studio thing. You want the Craig O'Neill floor? Is that what you're looking for here?
I think naming the desk would be, the rumor is it's the men's room, but you know.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm looking for the road to the...
Craig O'Neill. I just love you. I just love your sports. I love everything about you, Craig. You are so cool. Hey, listen, wait. Can I have a T-shirt? Can I have an autographed picture? Hold it, come back here.